A lot of us get into investing with this idea, this illusion, really, that the market is a pure meritocracy. We think, hey, if I can just find that one hidden gem, if I'm smarter or faster than the next person, I'm going to win. But what if that's not how the game is played at all? What if it's all about a different set of rules entirely?
And this sentence right here, man, it changes everything. It completely flips the script. It's telling us to stop trying to be the smartest person in the room. Instead, we need to understand where the big money is flowing, and maybe even more importantly, why it's flowing there. I'm sure you've seen this before, right? You're looking at a chart of some huge, stable, almost boring company. There's no shocking news, no big earnings surprise, no world-changing product, and yet, day after day, week after week, it just quietly, steadily grinds higher. It's almost weird, you know? So you've got to ask yourself, if it's not some breaking headline, what is it? What's this invisible force that's just pushing the stock up? Well, it turns out the answer isn't a single event. It's the beginning of a very slow but incredibly powerful process. And this brings us right to the core idea of this whole explainer, what the source material calls the permission slip. It's not some flashy headline that you'll see on TV, but it's the real signal, the one that can unlock billions of dollars, and it's what most of us completely miss. So this slide really lays out the two different games that are being played in the market. As retail investors, we tend to chase things. We see a stock pop, and we try to ride that wave. But the big institutions, they don't chase waves. They are the tide. They rotate these massive pools of capital, not in a day, but over weeks and months, slowly changing the entire water level for everyone. And here it is. This is the aha moment. When we see an analyst upgrade a stock, our first thought is, oh, great, this news is going to make the price go up. But that's thinking about it backward. The upgrade isn't the cause of the buying, it's the permission slip that allows all that buying to finally start. So what is a permission slip? Well, think of it as the formal, defensible reason a big-time portfolio manager needs to start buying. It's the official analyst report they can take to their committees and their bosses and say, see, here's why we're putting $500 million into this. It's not really about new information for them, it's all about justification. It's cover. And believe me, they absolutely need that justification. See, institutional money isn't run by one person acting on a gut feeling. Nope. It's governed by all these layers: committees, strict mandates, risk models, compliance frameworks. An analyst upgrade is the official narrative they need to navigate all that red tape. Okay, so the permission slip has been issued. What happens now? How does this massive institutional tide actually show up in the market? It's probably not what you'd expect. You don't see this massive one-day explosion in the stock price. That's more of a retail thing. Instead, you get this slow, methodical, almost boring grind higher. That right there, that's the footprint. That's the sign of an institution quietly building a massive position, not in an afternoon, but over weeks, maybe even months. And what's really cool is how this momentum builds. It's kind of like a domino effect. One influential analyst makes the first move. Then other analysts start to notice, right? No one wants to be the last person to the party. And slowly but surely, the whole consensus begins to shift. And suddenly, there's a whole new bullish story being told about this company. This difference in perception is it's everything. We see a headline pop up and we think, wow, this is brand new information. But for the big institutions, it's often just the public stamp of approval on a shift in thinking that was already happening behind the scenes. They aren't reacting to the news. They're using the news to execute a strategy they already had. All right, so with this new way of looking at things, how do we actually change our approach? How do we start to ignore all the noise and listen for that quiet, powerful flow of money? And that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, the theory is fascinating, but how do you actually use this information to maybe align your own investments with these giant capital flows? Okay, here's the practical playbook. First, stop trying to be the very first person in on a trade. Stop chasing those headlines. Instead, start looking for the beginning of an upgrade cycle. Has a stock that everyone called a hold for years suddenly gotten its first buy rating from a big bank? That's a signal. Listen to the company's earnings calls. Has the CEO's tone shifted from cautious to kind of confident? That's another signal. The goal isn't to catch the very first ripple. It's to get in the boat once you see the tide is starting to turn.
And this just sums up the whole strategy perfectly. Let's be real. You're not going to out-research or out-muscle a trillion-dollar fund. That's not the game. The game is about recognizing which way the current is flowing and then just paddling in the same direction. Ride their wake. So what's our edge in all of this? We're not faster, we're not bigger. So what is it? Well, it's something much more subtle and honestly, a lot more powerful. Your advantage is context. See, once you know this, you're not just reacting to a price jump anymore. When you see that first analyst upgrade, you don't just see a one-day news story. You see the potential start of a multi-month institutional buying spree. You stop reacting and you start anticipating the flow. So the final takeaway here is pretty simple. Learn to tell the difference between the signal and the noise. The market is just drowning in noise. Predictions, hot takes, hype. But the real signal, the one that's quietly moving billions of dollars, is often something that looks as boring as a single analyst upgrade. So, follow the permission, not the noise.